This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I will call to order this meeting of the Easthampton Planning Board for Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. All members are appearing remotely and we are recording. First item on the agenda is public speak. Is there anyone who has anything to say about something that is not on the agenda tonight? You can raise your Zoom hand or turn on your camera and wave or unmute and address us. I don't see anything. So moving right along. If no planning board members object, I'd like to do the fire ants hours of operation, the minor modification question first, because I think we can dispense with that quickly. Is there someone here from fire ants? I know there's a chance that maybe people weren't going to come. Jeff, do you want to give us a quick overview?
Yes, thanks. So the operators of the dispensary at 102 Northampton Street had a question about the hours of operation. And we went back and forth, and one of the questions that we posed back to them today was whether they thought the Cannabis Control Commission would need to be informed of a change in hours. And I think they got a no. I don't think the Cannabis Control Commission is going to look for anything. But the question was that when the board was deliberating on that special permit, the ordinance said that the hours could be from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And at the literally, and then the board voted on the special permit. And at the same time, and then it went on a little bit longer, but there was a zoning amendment to make the hours go from 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. And so the condition ended up getting worded favorably for the dispensary to say that they can operate at whatever the hours are of the ordinance. And so they were just kind of coming back for clarification because they wanted to make sure that they had the ability to open at 8.
Yeah, and the permit was kind of, it's where it gets confusing because we quote the section of the bylaw which mentioned the old hours, but it said it can be open as long. I went back and watched it too. Like we knew that bylaw change might be coming. I think it was contemplated. So I mean, I certainly think it's actually already part of the special permit in my opinion, based on what we voted on. But I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts or questions on the board. James?
I agree, and our intent was to let it be whatever the bylaw was, but I see that there is a bit of murkiness there as a result of this, and I'm wondering, I just want to talk about the options here. It's let it lie because we say no, it's clear enough, and our intent is still on record here, or it's what, make a modification to our plan to the condition after the fact. Can we even do that? I'm not like,
I mean, I almost think what we would do, Jeff, is sort of what we do when we determine that something is a minor modification, is like a letter maybe signed by me or something that says that we determined that that was actually what the vote was and we affirm that. I mean, I think the decision is pretty clear. And I think when you look at it, you can see that it states what the current bylaws are, but then it says they can stay open as long as the bylaws will allow. But I'm happy to do anything that you think would help fire ants out with this, because I think that was what we sort of voted on back then.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think if the board just takes a simple vote, say that you agree with that, that the interpretation is that it was intended to allow those hours to occur. What they said is if the Cannabis Control Commission asked for anything, then we would just say it, we would submit a quick letter, and I could say that on March 15th, the planning board reviewed this and concurred that the hours were allowed to be at 8. But they didn't think it was going to come up, so that's kind of why they bailed out. They didn't need to be here, so.
Yeah, and I don't even think we need to take public comment on this, because in my opinion, we already voted on this, and it is the decision, the permit that we already granted. So I'm happy to take a motion, I guess, to affirm or confirm.
I motion to affirm that this is a minor modification and for fire ants dispensary for 102 Northampton Street.
I'll second that.
All right, voting in favor, James.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
And I am an aye. All right. Moving right along, and I think we'll do what we did last time with these, where we'll treat the A&Rs with the permit applications. Does that make sense, Jeff? Since they're tied to.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's perfect.
Okay, so I think the first item on the agenda is Gabe Shookman applying for a special permit to construct and operate a drive-through restaurant and associated site improvements, 93 Northampton Street. Patrick, welcome back.
How's it going? Great to be back.
Good, thank you.
Can I share my screen here?
Yeah, I think I just set you up to do that.
Great, awesome. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, awesome. So last time we were here, we discussed the site plan kind of as I'm showing here, but we had one, this loop here came around and it connected back with the one entrance in. And the board had some comments that they wanted to see a layout that was more similar to the McDonald's, as well as give some additional queuing length for the left turn out. That was the majority of the comments that we got, was just giving a bit more queuing length for a left turn, as well as giving some additional ability for right and left to have some more kind of traffic mobility here. So we listened to the comments and we kind of relooked at our traffic, and we figured we could take the entire site and we pushed it back 20 feet. So there's an additional 20 feet of property here. And we took this, basically just took the whole site and lifted it and moved it to the rear. And which also, and then we added this dedicated in and a dedicated out. So we could have more left turn, the ability for a more dedicated left turn and right, and then this would be the entrance only. The majority of the development itself kind of remained the same. You did get a larger distance from Northampton Street for the building. We have this, let me go to the next one here. We had a rain garden that was in the front here, which kind of captured some stormwater from the high point here, as well as some of the entrance area. And I think the board liked that. So we wanted to kind of keep that drainage feature, and we made it a little bit larger because we had a bit more area. And then that kind of pipes to the same swale that goes on the left-hand side here. Just kind of optimized based on the comments, a very similar design, but made it flow a bit better and kind of similar to something that you would see in the past that the board had previously approved. There were some comments on the gas. So we have added a propane tank here since there was not the ability to have gas in the street. The remainder of the utilities kind of stayed the same. Again, just kind of push back the length of the site change basically that we had. And then some lighting just got updated basically for what we had, and landscaping just was revised per the revised layout that we had. And I think the board was happy with the remainder of the items that we had on the plans. So I'd love to just get your feedback based on the changes and see if there's anything that, hopefully we've done everything that we previously were asked to do and have satisfied the majority of the board.
Patrick, any other changes? First of all, I love the in and out. I think that's great, and I'm really glad you were able to find a way to make that work. Any other changes to sort of what's going on as far as parking or any of those things because the site layout was different?
The parking, the amount of spaces remain the same. It's 33 required, 33 proposed. The flow is the same. This will both, I got some arrows here. So basically these both go this direction. We have, it enters the drive through here, and then there's a bypass lane that goes around. Then these are the angled spaces on the left and right.
And the stormwater looks like it's pretty much the same too. You have your rain garden still, and you've got your stormwater plan. It looks like not a lot's changed there. Yeah. Good.
Any other questions or comments from planning board members?
The propane tank, is that new? I forget. Did you move it?
It wasn't there before. We previously showed a gas line that went to the street, but we have added the propane tank.
We noted the moratorium, and I think that caused.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
The gas moratorium in town.
And that has all of its own licensing requirements and stuff. So
Okay, all right. So it gets.
we don't have to worry about that on that level.
Okay. I'm good.
All right. Any members of the public with comments or questions? You can raise your Zoom hand or turn on your camera and raise your hand, or unmute yourself if you've got to. And all right, I see nothing. Jeff, anything else from the planning department?
I think the only other thing was floor plans, and I think that I think there was a request to kind of observe like the general layout even, and I think that was provided. So I don't know if that's
great.
That was the only other thing I can think of.
Yep, these were the floor plans that were asked to be provided. It was a sample floor plan, so
Yep.
This was provided by the client, so.
And we did talk last time about sort of the idea of a condition that we're going to sort of approve what's presented, and if there's changes from whoever comes in, they can come back, either determine that it's minor or modify the permit. But I think this is a clear picture of an option.
Do you need that as a specific condition?
I think we put that in the draft that Jeff prepared, but I do think that that's one that we would just clear. I mean, I think that's always the case, but I think we can just make it clearer here, where I think the operator may very well be a different group than the people here. So that way it'll be clear in the permit. Jeff, do we want to at least go through those other conditions we talked about in that looked like the only one that was.
Yeah, if you're open to it, I can share the draft. I think I would recommend to see if the board would go. We can talk about the conditions first, but then maybe go through the findings.
Yeah, we can go through the findings and conditions. That makes sense.
Okay. So,
Patrick, have you guys gotten a copy of this at all? I know we only got it right before the meeting, but.
Yeah, it was right before the meeting. Yeah, I was able to skim through it.
Okay. Yeah.
and just as the way it's structured is the beginning portion is all kind of summary of discussions, especially from the first meeting. You can see here at the top, the decision will include a summary of this meeting, and then this is all draft, but it considers the voting, the statement that let me move my box here. So it's plans and specs per what was submitted, and then the series of findings. So Jesse, I don't know how you want to handle the findings, if you want to read them verbatim or just summarize them, or.
Yeah, I think we can just summarize them. I've got a small image here to see, but I will. So it references the stormwater management plan, and that it's consistent with the purposes and objectives of the 3 sections of the bylaw. Oh boy, now it moved on me.
Sorry, no, that was my fault.
That's all right. Okay, yeah, and then the special permit approval. So conformance with the provisions of the ordinances of the city of Easthampton and general laws of Massachusetts. I don't think we have any issues with that. Planning board members, feel free to speak up if you want to discuss anything in more detail as we go. And I'll provide an opportunity for comment at the end for anybody else. Protection of city amenities and abutting property. The planning board finds the project protects city amenities and adjacent properties through site development elements such as exit, turning lanes, lighting, etc. So I think we did a good job addressing both the lighting and the traffic. Minimization of traffic and safety impacts. I think they did a really good job here. They added the separate exit and left turn and right turn lane. I think the pedestrian means in the parking lot are good. James?
Yes, sorry, Jesse.
No.
I just wanted to add on that one point, because I know we talked about it extensively at the last meeting, and people that might be showing up for the first time this meeting might not know. I know traffic is a big issue. I've had people in the public try to engage me in conversation about this, which of course we can't do, but they, it told me, and I would need to relate to the board that, traffic was a big issue. They mentioned it last week. And I agree with you. Everything we're seeing here, they're dealing with it well. We know there's problems on this street. And, this board and this applicant, I think, really did a good job trying to do the best they could to address that. And I think that's important to state, just in case people are wondering.
Agreed. Thanks, James. Adequacy of methods of disposal of sewage and refuse and the drainage of surface and subsurface water. We talked about trash and waste removal, but also the stormwater management structures. They kept their rain garden. Adequate means of protecting wetlands and watersheds. There's no impact in any of that. Mitigation of adverse impacts on the city's resources. I don't think there's any issues with that. Provisions for the off-street loading and unloading of vehicles. We talked about parking areas and loading, lighting, internal movements, efforts to integrate the development into the existing landscape. I don't think there's really any issues with that right now for how the lot is constructed. Consistency of the development with respect to setback, area, placement of parking, architectural style, and landscaping. Yeah, I think we can find that the project design and use are consistent with the existing highway business district. The potential for the site to connect to the remainder of 93 Northampton Street may be desirable. And we've addressed the issues with entrance and exits. And this was the language too, Jeff, we talked about. The board acknowledged the 2013 highway business study and determined a future waiver may be contemplated in the future to create interconnection. So that was the discussion about if that back lot gets developed, that we at least want to signal to a future planning board that they may, we certainly think that may be reasonable to grant a waiver if and when there are actual facts on the ground to support that. Adequacy of the measures to prevent pollution of surface or groundwater and minimize erosion. The stormwater management plan seems adequate for all of that. And adequacy of the methods to ensure that the use will not constitute a nuisance by reason of unacceptable level or air or water pollution, excessive noise, or visually flagrant structures. I don't think there's any issue with that at all. Planning board members, any thoughts on those findings? Any need for further discussion? Okay. And then,
Motion? Oh,
well,
people,
let's do the conditions real quick. Yeah. So the conditions that we discussed, one is all exterior site improvements shall be constructed and maintained in accordance with the approved site plans dated January 3rd, 2022. We'll have to update that to include the latest version too that we got, Jeff. And in the event that any exterior changes cannot be completed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, an alternative, please hold, schedule shall be reviewed and approved by the board at public meeting prior to issuance of a temporary certificate.
Can I just explain that one just for a minute? Because
Yeah.
I think we haven't had this condition in a while, but I wanted to reinsert it because what we see is as they construct the property, if they go fast, we don't know the schedule, maybe they could elaborate on that, but if they get almost everything done as they enter winter, they might not be able to put landscaping in and sort of punch list final items. And so we just want to try to have the planning board get a presentation of that so that the building inspector might be able to issue a temporary CO to get them open. Or same thing could happen if they are finishing in like right now, we just got out of frost, but they can't really put in landscaping yet, but they want to open without landscaping. We want to give them that flexibility. That's intended to be flexible so that the CO doesn't hold for everything if there is some unforeseen circumstance.
Thanks, Jeff. Number 2 requires adherence to all of the aspects of the stormwater drainage and management plan and states that the site shall not allow or cause any illicit discharges. Number 3, any substantial changes to site design or building footprint as determined by the building commissioner shall be reviewed by the planning board in a public meeting. The purpose of this public meeting will be to determine whether these changes necessitate the reopening of the public hearing for this project. So that's similar to what we deal with in general anyway, but it makes it explicit that we've approved what we have in front of us. 4, the special permit approval includes approval for any signage proposed in conformance with applicable ordinances. 5, all landscaped areas shall be properly maintained. Shrubs or trees which die shall be replaced within one growing season. And 6, all construction shall comply with applicable state and federal regulations, including but not limited to the Americans with Disability Act. So any comments, questions from the planning board about any of those conditions? Patrick, any of those conditions pose any problems or any of the findings that you think not quite there?
No, they seem fine to me. Rachel, did you have any final comments on those?
Nope, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think we're good with it.
Great. Members of the public, any thoughts or comments about the findings, the project in general, the conditions, any other comments or questions? Raise your Zoom hand, turn on your camera. I see nothing. All right, Jeff, any final thoughts or comments? Or do you think we got everything here?
I think you pretty well covered it, so I think you're ready.
I motion to approve the special permit for Gabe Schumann at 93 Northampton Street for a Starbucks with the aforementioned conditions, including number 1, having some dates changed.
I will second that.
All right, voting to approve the special permit. James.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
and I am an I. And just so I don't forget, we also have the A&R in connection with that. We don't want to leave without addressing that. So I think we had looked at the plan at the last hearing. It's slightly different, I guess, because the parcel is a little different, Patrick.
That is correct. Everything is basically the same, except the rear has been moved back 20 feet.
Jeff, any comments from the planning department? It doesn't change the frontage at all or anything like that. They still have that frontage, but.
Yep, I think it works good, and they did that to accommodate the turning lane, so it makes sense that we're kind of re-endorsing this one, and this one would be the one that the applicant would record at the registry of deed.
All right, so I will take a motion to endorse the A&R.
Motion to endorse the A&R for Gabe Schumann at 93 Northampton Street.
Seconded.
All right, voting to endorse the A&R. James,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
and I am an I. Best of luck, folks. Thanks so much for your help with this, getting it over the finish line.
Good luck.
Thanks so much.
Just want to appreciate it.
Yep, and real
Thank
quick
you. Thank you so much.
Patrick and Rachel, so if I may, we should be able to get this recorded with the clerk maybe tomorrow. Actually, I'll try for tomorrow, and then that would start the 20-day appeal period. So I don't know what your plan is for applying for building permits, but you probably have to wait that 20-day appeal period out, and then you would be certainly eligible for that. So that would be my one last question is, do you have any sense of what, maybe it's your client, but do you have any sense of what the timeline looks like on your end? I know we kicked out a month, but after that?
Yeah, so we'll submit for building permit as soon as we're able, and then our goal would be to start construction this summer. We also have to resubmit to DOT and everything like that, but we're moving along.
Okay.
Great. Thanks so much, folks.
Thank
Best of
you.
luck.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, since I am recusing myself from the remaining portion of the meeting, I will sign off, and you can give the assistant planner update afterwards because I know what's going on.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right, folks, thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
Good night.
Bye, Jesse.
All right, everyone, we're going to move forward with the next items on our agenda, which are the 2 special permits for Eric Berzins at Fort Hill and for Birch Family Farms, in addition to the associated A&R. Before I look for Attorney Lane, I see that you're in channel and ask you to give us an update on where we stand. I just want to tell everyone a little bit about what we've done in the past. We voted to handle both those special permits as one thing, so I'm opening both of those permits right now, those hearings right now. We're handling them in conjunction. My understanding of where we left off last meeting, and I'm going to query with Attorney Lane in just a moment to verify this is true, is that the intent is that there's been a new A&R to disassociate a portion of the property from the Fort Hill, and that we're looking in essence to endorse the A&R and then remove the second part of the special permit and close the hearing and remove it from us because it's no longer valid. And I'm hoping just that everyone kind of follows that basic process. We're gonna, therefore, if that's true, we'll probably start with the A&R, talk about the second open hearing and determine whether or not we're going to cancel it. And then my guess is that the first part of it is going to be delayed to some point in the future because they'll need to get new plans to us. When we do all that during the A&R stage and in the vote to handle the second, the removal of the second open hearing, both times I'll ask for public comment, just so you know that there'll be opportunities to speak. Attorney Lane, how do you feel about what I just said? Does that sound about right to you, or did I miss the
Yes, that sounds exactly what I thought we were going to do this evening.
In that case, why don't you tell us a little bit about the A&R?
So I think Emily Holmberg is here as well, the surveyor who put the plans together for us. Shall I share my screen here? All right. Do I have ability to share the screen? Yep.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
Okay, and I do. Okay. So it is quite simple. Birch Family Farm, the owner of the adjacent 8 acres to the brewery, is applying for endorsement for the A&R to create this new parcel over here, parcel 1B. That's the area that has gravel parking on it. There is a special permit application for that. It has been Birch Family Farms application for use that it was allowing the brewery to make of that area, which included gravel parking and an expansion of storage containers. Birch Family Farm is now looking to create this parcel and then sell it to 1776, which, as we'll discuss in a bit more, will require 1776 to amend its applications. But for now, purposes of the A&R, that's it. Simply creating this parcel 1B, where the parking will exist, and then selling that parcel to 1776.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the board for questions in a moment, but I just want to make a couple statements. Really, with A&Rs, we have one criteria we're after, and that's frontage. It's clear that both ends have more than enough frontage here, and it meets that mark. I want to state that. I want to state one other thing. At the last meeting, there was a public comment about the type of dirt, I think, that was put down, and we just asked if you'd consider it. I wonder if you have any update on that.
Sure. It wasn't clear to me that I was addressing that here or at the further continuance, but in any event, I believe the abutter raised a concern that the soil was trucked in and was inconsistent with the Merrimack soil that has been identified on the Birch Family Farm property. So if that were true, I don't know that I don't know that it's a subject for this proceeding. However, my clients have explained to me that the soil that's there is native to the land. It was soil that was taken when the parking area was created and then redistributed on that land. I don't know. I've searched the zoning ordinance. The only thing I could possibly think of that would apply here would be section 10.6.1 on removal of soil, other than removal that is incidental to construction that is part of a special permit. I don't even know that that applies. If it does apply, then I think it would be a question to visit when you consider the final submission of 1776 related to the creation of the parking lot. But what has been represented to me is that that soil is native to the Birch Family Farm property. And what my clients intend to do is level the mounds and just spread that soil throughout the property.
Okay, I'd like to make just a couple comments. First off, as I stated earlier, our real criteria, and this is frontage. You know, I was curious about it and did do a little investigation in 10.3 to see if when it was done, had a special permit been requested and the proper proceedings gone through, would something like that be an issue that we would require? I couldn't see anything in there, so I asked an expert that I know to comment. I'm wondering, Planner Bag, if you can tell me what you found in 10.3. Is there anything there that would have, do you think, caught them had they come for a special permit?
Yeah, Attorney Lane looked at a different section. So the section that Attorney Lane mentioned was removal of soil or earth and materials, and it kind of like likens itself to a quarry. That's also in that heading, in that section. 10.3 is another section that we looked at to see its filling of swales and valleys, etc. It does deal with filling land, but when we started to look at this, I would argue that I don't think if the applicant applied to come forward and build the mounds for the track, I don't think 10.3 would have been applicable. I think what we had talked about was the stormwater ordinance that was one of the key items that would have been triggered because you're disturbing that much land over 10,000 square feet. But our read of 10.3 right now is that it wouldn't have really been triggered by the project. And so I think it's a uncomfortable position. My professional opinion is that the planning board doesn't really have the jurisdiction to regulate what kind of soil is being brought in, and maybe it's a future ordinance that would address that. But I think if the application was submitted and reviewed, I don't think the planning board would have really been able to dictate the type of soil that gets brought in. So I think I appreciate Attorney Lane looking at 10.6. I did not look at that, but that's removal, and 10.3 is filling. And I would argue that I don't think it's applicable for this case.
I looked at 10.3 as well. I looked at all 51 references to the word soil within the zoning ordinance. And 10.3 did not seem applicable because it was about swales, but I hear your point. I agree. I don't think there's jurisdiction over the issue of trucking infill. So if that were the case, I don't think there's jurisdiction. If we're talking about removal, I'd argue that there was never removal. There's a redistribution of existing soil within the property.
Okay. With that information,
in any event,
sorry, go ahead.
That's all, is that my clients are offering to take the most contentious issue out of these proceedings and level these mounds. I
agree with the point being raised there.
That's my point.
Let me ask the board their feelings on the matter, or just about the A&R in general. Board, any comments?
I have no comments about the A&R in general, and I think that also it's just we don't know. It's one person's word against another about whether it was native or not, and I think we have to take the property owner's word for it that it's native. So I'm comfortable going down that path. So I have no other comments on the A&R.
Ken, Harry?
No comment.
Okay. In that case, I think I'm going to just open it to the public. Any comments about the A&R? You can press *6 or *9 or show yourself on the camera and raise your hand or speak out loud. Anyone that wants to make a comment about the A&R? I'm not seeing anything. Going once, going twice. Okay. Then in that case, we're looking to motion for a motion to endorse the A&R.
I make a motion to endorse the A&R for Fort Hill Road, Birch Family Farm, to add land from the Birch Family Farm property to Fort Hill Brewery, or to create parcel 1B.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, excellent. All right, all in favor, Chris?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I am an aye. It looks like the A&R has been endorsed, Attorney Lane, which brings us to our second issue of the night, and that is therefore now that the second portion of the special permit request seeking to amend the special permit for the, I think, Birch Family Farms is no longer, the property is changed. You'd like to remove that and close the public hearing for it, and we'll deal with it all in the other special permit. Is that correct?
That is correct. So that's that's the formal submission that I made for tonight. Is with this, I would hope that we could close the hearing for Birch Family Farm. They no longer have any application that they want considered. As I said, the application for the recreation area is withdrawn. An application for the parking area will become part of 1776's application. With that, I'd ask that you approve the withdrawal of their existing application and close the public hearing for Birch Family Farm.
The big concern for me, of course, was the offer to level off all the mounds and all the work that was there. I think that, thank you for that. I think that everyone involved is going to be happy to see that happen. Personally on this, I think it's the appropriate move to make. I have no further comments to add to it. I saw, Chris, you had your hand raised.
I do. So I have no problem with closing this out. I think it's a good idea. This makes it much cleaner, and I'm happy to see this happening. My question is there a way to make sure that we can, or do we have to create a condition to enforce that these mounds will be removed? Is that part of a condition for the effective closing of it, or is it something that we just monitor? And
closing,
how's that documented?
Because there'll be no written statement at the end. But I think Jeff had a comment about that when I asked a similar question.
If it'd be all right, I was hoping to hear what Attorney Lane had to say first, and figure out exactly what we can do with this one.
Sure. So what what I'm asking for is if you could just give us until July 1st to have it taken care of. It's interesting. I also spoke with the city's attorney on this point relative to the civil enforcement action. Because it was the recreation area, the creation of the mounds themselves were one of the subjects of that action. So that action's still pending. Attorney Tanner and I will probably be discussing the conditions under which Birch Family Farm might be dismissed from that action at this point as well. And I would assume that this would get covered there. I don't know. I'm open to the board making the removal a condition for closing public hearing. I don't know how you would want to word it or
It
document
could only be a condition on the other special permit that's left remaining, to which it doesn't apply to the property involved. So I don't see that we have leverage there. It's awkward.
Right. I'm certainly willing to make the removal of the mounds a condition for dismissal of the civil enforcement action, if that.
I think that's going to, I think that's going to be that is actually probably going to be the best and most effective way to handle this, because I think the way the enforcement action is on hold, so that as many of the issues can be resolved via the planning board as possible. And I think this is a step in the direction of resolving the recreational uses element. I would urge the attorney to condition the release of Birch Family Farm from that based on this, like July 1st deadline. And and I don't suspect this is the case at this point, but if for some reason they're just simply not going to remove it after July 1st, then I think that we will cause another enforcement action through the case. I think that that's going to be a cleaner mechanism in this.
I agree.
Which doesn't require any vote or anything on our part. That just happens.
No, and I think if it all ended up in court, I think we would look at the letter that was submitted by Attorney Lane, which acknowledged that the applicant is going to level the mounds, and I think the board is considering that as part of your withdrawal. It kind of been good. So I think we're in a decent spot. I appreciate that Attorney Lane spoke to the city attorney about that. I mean, I do want to just say that if something goes awry, I think the city would be bringing another enforcement action after July 1st. I mean, I don't. If it's July 4th, I don't know, but if it's into July and there's no activity, then I think we would be looking at sending it out another.
Or even I'm perfectly willing also just leave the civil. I mean, obviously the civil enforcement action remains open as to 1776 regardless, but leave the civil enforcement stayed but open as to both parties until such time the agreed date for removal comes. So meaning the city could probably move for enforcement within the open case, because I don't think it would be dismissed until the mounds are leveled.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Any further questions, Chris?
No.
Ken, Harry?
No.
At this point, I'd like to bring it to the public regarding the discussion of closing and removing the special permit open hearing for Birch Family Farm. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to comment on that? You can press *6 or *9, or just speak or raise your hand in video. Any comments at all? I don't see anyone. Going once. Oh, sorry, Attorney Lane, did you have a question?
Yeah, obviously not public comment, but before you move for vote, I wanted to get in one last thing for clarification. The fenced-in dog area, I just want to make sure, like, Birch Family Farm is going to continue to allow essentially Eric to pen the dogs there, his 2 dogs there during the day. They are sweet, gentle labs that spend their day there. I've looked through both the pleadings in Superior Court and here. I've looked at things like it feels like that was never a concern. And so I just want to make sure that that's going to continue. After Birch Family Farm is removed from this process, that use is going to continue.
All right, so 2 things. I'll start with the easy one first. I have no problem with that. Anyone else on the board have an issue with that?
No.
I have no issue.
No.
Okay, so the second thing is that because we're doing this removal and there's no documentation afterwards, there's no condition or approval or anything we can put on that. So we can just give you this verbal as part of this, and this historical record that no one on the board had any problem with it.
Right.
I don't know what else we could do. Jeff, do you have any suggestions?
I'm satisfied with that, Mr. Sarvis. That's exactly what I just wanted to hear, and I feel fine.
right.
So it looks like Jeff Bagg is raising his hand.
Yeah, Jeff.
Thanks. Sorry. It's just in the vein of clarity. I was fiddling around to see if I could put up, maybe Attorney Lane still has the A&R available.
Yeah.
I just want to try to be really clear. So when we were discussing the mounds, there are mounds that run along like the southerly property line, and it's the longer linear, it's the bottom of the page. There are also mounds adjacent to the dog fence area.
Mm-hmm.
Where we had, previously had some videos of motorcycles being ridden in the park area. And I guess I just want to clarify that those are included in the mound removal.
Yes, so the mound removal is the fenced in area next to the dog pen.
Okay.
And then the larger area, which is not shown on the A&R, but this larger recreational bike track over here. So these are the mounds we're talking about leveling for Birch Family Farm.
Good, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, I think that clarifies it, that would be included in the map, like that area would be removed, and then the run area for the dogs would remain. And I tend to agree with the board. I don't think that the dog run it rises to any kind of use, and I think that looks like that can stay as long as that other set of jumps next to it is part of what gets removed.
Absolutely,
yep.
Yes.
Okay. One last check from the public, from the board or anyone. Any comments on this? I don't see anyone. If anyone else sees anyone, let me know. Going once, going twice. Okay. So at this point,
I move to accept the withdrawal and close the hearing for Birch Family Farms.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Chris?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I am an aye. We hereby close that hearing and have one left. Now that leaves us with one issue I think we have to deal with, and that is we still have an open hearing on the Fort Hill. And so I'm guessing we need to continue that so that you can get the plans.
Yes, I'm going to ask for continuance on that still. So I'm mindful of how long this has gone on. I'm mindful of neighbors' concerns and their concerns of how far we are into this process, and we still don't have finalization. At the same time, I don't want to ask for so short a continuance that I really can't get everything coordinated. So I do want to ask for 60 days from today for submission of all remaining plans for 1776. Everything has to be amended now. Once we, well, first of all, once we get the Mylar on record, then we need to close on a sale of the property. And then Ms. Holmberg, Mr. Swanson, and I, as well as the sound control engineer that we're talking to, we have a lot of work to do.
Lighting plans.
Yes, and I see her here, so I'll just point out I've opened a dialogue with one of the neighbors, not on a butter, but a very concerned neighbor about the noise, Ms. Fisher. I intend to continue that dialogue, particularly as we work with the noise control engineer on layout, stage design, sound dampening materials, anything. Including making test runs so that coordinate with Ms. Fisher, coordinate with neighbors on the other side. If we change the orientation of the stage, I need to figure out if we're then impacting people on Fort Hill Road who previously weren't getting impacted. See if we need to make adaptations to noise dampening material as a result of things like that. I just can't imagine I get all that done in 30 days. I'm asking for 60, and during that 60 days, I fully intend to be engaged in conversations with neighbors and abutters who have previously raised concerns about noise. I think that's what's remaining at this point, as in terms of like a neighborhood concern is noise, and that's going to be a big focus, and we're going to just need time to work that through.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Lane. So normally I would it seemed that a pretty lengthy period. This has gone on a long time, and it's got a lot of extraneous circumstances here, especially. But I agree with you. I think that there is a lot of information that you have to resubmit, and I'd like to get it right so that we can close this out the next time. I think while I would normally probably throw a bit of a hissy fit at that delay, in this case, it's warranted. And I would say that in addition, I think that, the sound issue will take that much time, but I'd like to get the rest of the board's opinion on whether or not they think that's acceptable. Anyone else?
I think the time is worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it is a little bit frustrating that it's taking this long, but I think I appreciate the applicant doing the due diligence to make sure this is done right. So I'm okay with the 60 days.
Harry?
Yeah, I totally agree.
So, I think that I just want to add, as we push this to the public and ask their opinion, and I see, Jeff, you have your hand up in just a sec, but I just want to add, it's my opinion at this juncture that things have really turned a corner and we're really making great progress. And I'm appreciative to the applicant, to the neighbors, and to everyone involved. I think that we're definitely moving forward in a good direction here, which is part of why I think this board is willing to, to do that timeline. It fits with what we're doing. Jeff?
Thanks. No, I tend to agree that this is moving in the right direction, and I think that's promising and good. The one thing I was thinking about, and I just wanted to air this out, I think, with the board and with Attorney Lane, just that, so maybe that's like so the planning board meets the first and third Tuesdays. So let's just say hypothetically, we're looking at like May 17th. I just wanted to ask if all the ducks were in a row on the 17th, maybe we would be ready for a vote. The board often wants to hear information, craft some conditions, and come back one more time. And that may or may not be necessary, but I guess my point, it kind of goes towards that with the special permit, after even the vote, it's recorded at the city clerk's office, and there's a 20-day appeal period before you can construct, something. Or I guess that's my question, is like activating this space. I just want to be mindful of that timeline. We're kind of in this gray area where, like, the existing patio, you might be able to put music out there, but we're kind of pending all this stuff. So then you would have new patio and a new configuration of music. That, I mean, realistically, you're talking about like pulling, starting music under this new arrangement in June, at the mid-June at the earliest, unless we can come up with some other parameters. I just wanted to play out the rest of the schedule. The parking area, my understanding of the parking area is that it has changed. It will be further developed, right? There'll be installation of lighting. So I'm just a little bit worried about what happens in when the brewery becomes active in the early summer. Where are we at with what was allowed, what was built, and that kind of thing. So Peter, I don't know if you talked to your client about that or had thought about that, but that's the only concern I have about going so far out, is it's going to take some time to get things in place.
It may infringe on his time to do live music. He may want to do it earlier, understandably.
Right. Yeah, I have not had a specific conversation about this. I imagine Ms. Fisher's hand is up and she's going to have very clear opinions about it. So I'd actually be curious to hear from her first.
All right, well, let's open it to the public then, starting with Ms. Fisher.
Hi, Laura Fisher, 61 Clapp Street. I hope you're all enjoying watching me cook dinner.
I was going to ask what you were cooking. Yes.
I'm hungry.
Burrito bowls with cilantro lime rice. So now that we've entered that into the public record, I guess first of all, I want to say I really appreciate Attorney Lane. It's been great to talk to someone reasonably about this. This is really all I wanted from the start. That being said, I don't represent all my neighbors. I'm one individual. I'm talking about, I'm talking about my situation. So I really hope that the other neighbors are engaged. I agree that this has been going on a really long time. At the same time, I want it done right. And I want it done right and in a way that's going to be a permanent solution. so that we don't all end up back here again. Those are my concerns about it. 4 nights a week of live outdoor music is significant over the course of the summer. So I'd appreciate the effort to do it in a way that's not as disruptive. That's all I have to say. And I really hope that the communications with Attorney Lane continues and that other neighbors are included in this as well, to the extent they want to participate. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak? I've stated the mechanisms to do that many times, probably don't have to do it again. Anyone at all? So Attorney Lane, May 17th, Jeff mentioned, is the next date. Is that an acceptable date for you?
Yeah, that does work. The one thing I feel like I want to make sure we address is, the live music is currently allowed, and what we're applying for, however, is, special permit that involves the construction of a stage. I'm just wondering.
You're operating under the old.
Yeah, we're operating under an existing citywide permit for live music for.
Plus, without a doubt, it'll have an effect on the, what gets reported during that May 17th meeting, so because people will be speaking about it. So,
so I mean, I feel like we're going to have a period of time to start playing with things and hearing from people. I mean this, and I've opened the door to Ms. Fisher. I'd like to open the door to other neighbors as we go through this process to be in contact with me and let me know what they're experiencing. We are going to work with a professional noise control engineer. I'm a musician myself. I'm very familiar with sound engineering. I've never met a noise control engineer until now, or realized that there was a board. There was a licensing board dedicated to noise control engineering. We have found these folks. We're talking to them. I would welcome some feedback from the neighbors as we go through this over the next few months. Ms. Fisher knows how to contact me. Jeff Bagg knows how to contact me. I really would welcome others to let me know what they're hearing as we enter into the warmer weather now.
Yeah, it appears to be a gray area, and I think just having your client be mindful of where we're at in this process. Yep. We've come a long way, and a couple nights of if things were. Just not to be adversarial about the type of music that's playing and the loudness of, this while we're in this interment, because that could really kind of change where we're at. We seem to be all moving forward in a good direction. And I just don't want it to turn into like an in your face kind of thing. I'm operating under my special permit up until the day I have the new permit, because that like good neighborly kind of behavior was going to go a lot longer, a lot better. So it's just a plea, I guess, because we're in a gray area. So that's about it.
Your plea is heard and it will be conveyed. Thank you.
And maybe, May 17th, if things are really moving along, I often commit to drafting a decision based on where we are at. And I think from what I've heard of the board, maybe this is a little bit of guidance I can seek from the board and the chair, that we have talked about this a lot. So we understand that there's going to be the number of parking spaces expanded. There's going to be new lighting. So we can start to draft conditions around that, and anticipate that. And I think we could start some framework around music, and that might be the last piece that we need to kind of resolve on the 17th. So if things go well.
To talk about that, Jeff. Yeah. And that was what I wanted to bring up next with you. I think it's the right thing to discuss. I do think you're right. We have some stuff in the old application that'll probably be in the same genre, but the truth is we're representing a new application, new plans, new everything. We're kind of required to kind of go through it all again to make sure that it all meets muster. I think some of it will be streamlined, obviously, and we'll go faster because we've been sowing the weeds with this for a while, but we do have to go through everything. So I think it is a good idea to kind of draft what we think, but I don't think we can really utilize that draft or send it publicly to anyone until we've kind of, hammered that first meeting out. I mean, the goal I think that you're talking about is it's possible if everything lines up, that at that first meeting, maybe it's a long meeting, but we'll hear everyone, that we vote to approve. That is possible. Without having that basic draft in play so that you can pull it up when we get there, that's harder. We really do need that second meeting because we're bound to have conditions on. I mean, it's going to happen. So And I get that there's a desire from everyone involved to have that happen in that meeting. So I'm in favor of drafting something, but we have to be really careful because this is a new plan to us. It's a new process. Thoughts, anyone?
I think it makes sense, if I may. I think if we couldn't meet on May 17th, and Peter, I think this is just the pattern of the board, is that we could probably really firm up the board's position on everything, but it could take the next 2 weeks into, like, so it'd be June, I'm just looking at a calendar, so June 7th, much like we just did with the previous application, where that would be the June 7th. If it went that far, it would be a quick, pretty easy meeting to go over the final decision and get your vote. But then there's appeal periods and things like that. So those are the things I'm kind of just mindful of too. So I appreciate that.
It may not happen. We may be able to, like I said, Jeff will do his best to come out with, and thank you, a draft that's close, and we may be able to wordsmith that on the spot. It is possible still that we can do it, but I think Jeff's right. It's more likely that it'll be the 2 weeks after. Okay.
Yeah, yes, I understand. And especially when it comes to the issue of sound, I didn't expect the final hearing to actually be final because it sounds like, you're going to want to have some period, or we've said it, and you've said it before, and we were on board for this, that there'd be some kind of period of review to understand how the design shakes out in reality.
That will definitely be a condition, as was already discussed, but thank you for bringing that up. Any other thoughts from the board? Okay. In that case,
all right, already
on this? Yeah, go ahead.
I think we did. I think we went for, okay. So I make a motion to continue the special permit for Eric Berzins and Fort Hill Brewery at 30 Fort Hill Road to May 17th at 6 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Chris?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you very much, Attorney Lane. We'll
Thank
see
you
in
all
May.
very much.
All right, and thanks
you.
to the neighbors for coming.
Yeah,
At this point, Jeff, I think we only have one issue left on the agenda, and that's an update on hiring. What you got for us?
Great. Yep, thanks. So excited that we are able to say that we did hire someone, and he's actually been attending the meeting here tonight. His name's Eli. Eli, will you do a quick introduction of yourself? And I'll say that Eli is going to be starting next week. And so we're super excited about that. And then I invited him to come because I think attending one of these meetings is sort of the best introduction to anything. So Eli, do you want to say a couple words?
Yeah, I'm Eli. I live in Northampton. I'm in my kitchen right now. Coming to you from my kitchen. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting started in Easthampton. I've been in Chicopee doing an internship there for the last 8 months, and yeah, excited for a new challenge, a little more responsibility, and I was really impressed by that meeting. That was very efficient and friendly, and just very cool. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Great, thank you. Can't wait to work with you.
Yeah, I think
Welcome.
the approach will be I'll kind of work with Eli on, there's so many nuts and bolts of the position, and then I'll probably come to a few meetings with Eli, and then at some point he'll be taking over the planning board support role, and we'll kind of run in tandem as long as we need to. And I'll follow along with the case that we just talking about. I'll follow that one through, and then we'll bring Eli on for shepherding in next applications and things like that. So Jesse got to meet Eli at the second in-person interview, so he was okay with bailing out because he's met Eli once.
All right.
Goodness. All right, I'm really excited about it. Can't wait to work with you.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Likewise.
You know what else I'm excited about?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, is there a second?
One more quick thing, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Under things not reasonably anticipated, we did get some information. It seems to be kind of evolving, but the idea of going back in person for meetings could happen in April. And one of the big discussions that is kind of happening is the option to go in person only, or to go into a hybrid mode. And the hybrid mode would be that the board members come into a meeting room And we need to iron out like whether the applicants are present in the meeting room, but we would have the ability for someone to zoom in and participate. And that's kind of the hybrid. So what I'm hearing, and this is new information from today, is that we will not be going virtual anymore. It's really going to be boards that kind of either go in person or do a hybrid mode. And Jesse signed you guys up to be a hybrid. Because we have seen that we get a lot of additional public participation by people who could attend via Zoom. So we'll iron out some details, but it could come quick. Like the meetings in April could be back in town hall. So I just wanted to give that shout out because
we have a meeting on the 29th. So the one after that could potentially be the next. Okay, well, that's very exciting news. I had a brief conversation with Jesse about this and Jeff, and I know that Eli, I think you'd probably be the one to manage the web component of that so that the chair or acting chair wouldn't have to do that and chair the meeting at the same time. I can't wait to see how we structure that and how it works. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Can I clarify something? The agenda says our next meeting is April 5th.
Oh, it does. Am I wrong about the 29th, Jeff?
No, you are not wrong. The meeting on the 29th is the zoning amendment, that 40R district, right? So but the next regular scheduled planning board meeting would be April 5th.
Which would likely, we'll need confirmation and probably get it at that meeting on the 29th, but will likely be in City Hall.
Correct.
Awesome. So actually right now we have a motion on the field and I've handled it inappropriately. I don't think we had a second yet. Was there a second for the adjournment?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Chris?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Have a great night, everyone. Good to meet you.
Thank you, everyone.
Me, y'all.
Great
Have a
to
good
meet you.
one.
From Eli.
Bye.
Yeah.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.